If you're listening to this right now, know this: only 1% of people are truly ready to hear what I'm about to say. And if you're here, it's because you've been chosen. This message is not for everyone. It's not for those who walk through life ignoring the signs, dismissing the whispers, and turning away from the calling. But you are here for a reason. Right now, at this very moment, something inside you has been searching for clarity, for direction, for an answer. And whether you realize it or not, what you're about to hear could change everything. Maybe you've felt lost, confused, or uncertain about your next step. Maybe you've been waiting, praying, asking for a sign. Well, listen closely, because this is it. There's a reason you couldn't sleep tonight. There's a reason why, at this exact hour, you were led to this message. At 2 a.m., when the world is silent and distractions fade away, God speaks the loudest. But not everyone listens. Not everyone is willing to hear what needs to be heard. This is a divine appointment, a sacred moment where something greater is reaching out to you. And if you choose to ignore it, you might miss out on something that could shift the entire course of your life. Let me ask you this: how many times have you felt that nudge inside your soul, that unexplainable pull towards something more? How many times have you dismissed it, thinking it was just a fleeting thought, just another moment of doubt or uncertainty? But deep down, you know it wasn't. Deep down, you can feel that there's something bigger unfolding, something beyond what your eyes can see. That's why you're still listening. Because part of you knows this message is meant for you. And here's the truth: you are not here by accident. You are here because something is shifting in your life, and you need to be ready to receive it. Maybe you've been facing battles that no one knows about. Maybe you've been carrying burdens so heavy that you've started to believe they'll never lift. Maybe you've questioned whether your prayers are even being heard, whether your struggles have a purpose, whether all of this pain will ever make sense. But listen to me, what you're about to hear might be the very answer you've been waiting for. What if this is the moment that changes everything? What if right now, God is preparing something greater for you, but you need to be open to receive it? Because the truth is, transformation doesn't come to those who hesitate. It comes to those who step forward in faith, who open their hearts and say, "I am ready." So let me ask you, are you ready? If you are, I want you to declare it. I want you to write it in the comments right now. I am ready to receive. Let it be known. Speak it into existence. Because when you declare something with conviction, you align yourself with it. You step into the energy of what is already meant for you. And if you're truly ready, if you feel this message stirring something inside you, then don't keep it to yourself. There's someone out there, someone you know, who needs to hear this too. Someone who is struggling, searching, waiting for a breakthrough. Be the reason they don't miss this moment. Share this message with them now. Because you never know how one simple act of faith can create a ripple effect of miracles. You were called here for a reason. Now, the question is, will you answer? If you've ever felt different, like you don't quite fit into the world around you, let me tell you something: you're not alone. The chosen ones have always carried this feeling deep inside, this quiet sense that they were meant for something more. It's not an illusion. It's not your imagination. It's a calling, a divine whisper that's been with you since the very beginning, guiding you even when you didn't fully understand it. Think back to your life. How many times have you felt out of place, as if the things that mattered to others just didn't resonate the same way with you? How many moments have you walked into a room full of people and still felt alone? That's because your spirit has always known something deeper. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to follow the crowd. The chosen ones are set apart. They walk a different path, one that requires faith, courage, and an unwavering trust in the unseen. But here's the challenge: many of us spend years running from this truth. We try to fit in, to silence the call, to push away the feeling that we were created for more. It's easier that way, isn't it? to follow the familiar, to stay in the comfort zone, to ignore the pull towards something greater. And yet, no matter how much you try to escape it, the calling remains. It never truly leaves. Look at Moses. He wasn't just a man in history. He was someone just like you, someone who tried to run from his purpose, someone who doubted his own ability to do what God was calling him to do. When God spoke to him through the burning bush, telling him to go back to Egypt and lead his people to freedom, what did Moses do? He resisted. He gave excuses. He said he wasn't good enough, that he wasn't a strong speaker, that someone else would be better suited for the job. But God didn't choose someone else. He chose Moses, because the calling isn't about convenience, it's about destiny. And when God calls, He doesn't make mistakes. Maybe you've been doing the same thing. Maybe you've been doubting yourself, telling yourself that you're not ready, that you're not worthy, that you don't have what it takes. But let me tell you something, if God has placed something inside you, it's because you are the one meant to carry it out. It doesn't matter how unqualified you feel. It doesn't matter how many times you've failed. If you've been called, it's because you are capable, even if you can't see it yet, even if the path ahead seems impossible. And here's the truth, many people spend their entire lives waiting for a sign. They pray, they ask, they seek confirmation, always looking for that moment when things will become crystal clear. But what if I told you that the sign you've been waiting for has already come? What if I told you that God has been speaking all along, but you've been so focused on looking for something spectacular that you've missed the whispers in the ordinary? God doesn't always speak through loud miracles or grand gestures. Sometimes He speaks in the quiet moments, in the opportunities that come your way, in the people who cross your path, in the ideas that won't leave your mind, the passions that burn in your heart, the dreams that won't let you go. You don't need another sign. You need to listen. Because the moment you truly open your heart and say, God, I'm ready, you will begin to see what has been in front of you all along. So let me ask you again, are you running from your calling? Are you waiting for a sign when the answer is already inside you? Because the truth is, the chosen ones are not those who wait forever to feel fully prepared. They are the ones who step forward even when they are afraid. They are the ones who trust even when they don't have all the answers. If this message is resonating with you, it's because your spirit recognizes the truth. You were made for more. You were chosen for a purpose. And the time to step into that purpose isn't someday, it's now. Life's journey is not without struggle. And if you've faced hardships, if you've walked through seasons of pain, uncertainty, or loss, let me remind you, none of it was in vain. The battles you've fought, the tears you've cried, the moments you thought you wouldn't make it, they weren't meant to break you, they were meant to shape you. The desert is not a punishment, it's preparation. Think about it. The greatest transformations in life often come through seasons of difficulty. Just like gold is refined in fire, your spirit is being strengthened through the trials you face. It may not feel like it now. Right now, all you might see is the pain, the waiting, the unanswered prayers. But what if I told you that this very season is building you for something greater? That the very things you wish would go away are the things preparing you for the next level of your purpose. You're not alone in this. Many who were chosen by God had to go through the fire before stepping into their calling. Let me tell you a story about a woman named Sarah. She had always dreamed of making a difference, of stepping into a life of purpose, but nothing seemed to go her way. She faced rejection after rejection, doors closing before she could even step through them. There were nights she cried herself to sleep, wondering if God had forgotten about her. She felt stuck, lost in a wilderness season that seemed endless. But here's what Sarah didn't know: God was working in the background. One day, out of nowhere, she received a call. An opportunity came her way that she never expected. Something so much bigger than she had even prayed for. At first, she was overwhelmed. Why now? Why after all this time? She asked. And then it hit her, every delay, every moment of struggle, every door that had closed was actually leading her to this. She wasn't being punished. She was being prepared. And in that moment, she realized something powerful. The waiting wasn't wasted. The pain wasn't pointless. God had been shaping her all along. Maybe you're in that place right now. Maybe you feel like you're in the wilderness, unsure of when the breakthrough will come. But let me remind you, God never allows a season of struggle without a purpose. The hardship you're facing is not the end of your story. It's the foundation for what comes next. God, have you ever seen how an eagle renews its strength? It's one of the most powerful transformations in nature. When an eagle reaches a certain age, it begins to slow down. Its feathers become heavy, making it difficult to fly. Its beak and claws grow weak. At this point, the eagle has a choice: give up and accept decline, or go through a painful process of renewal. And do you know what the eagle chooses? Renewal. It flies to the highest mountaintop it can find. And there, in complete isolation, it begins the transformation. It tears out its old, heavy feathers, knowing they no longer serve it. It breaks off its beak against the rocks, waiting for a new, stronger one to grow. It removes its worn-out claws, trusting that in time, they will be replaced. And then, after weeks of waiting, something incredible happens. The eagle emerges stronger than before. It spreads its wings, no longer weighed down, and soars higher than ever. Maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe life has stripped things away from you: relationships, opportunities, certainty. Maybe you feel like you're in a place of breaking, where nothing seems to make sense. But let me tell you, this is not the end. This is your renewal. You are being prepared to rise higher than you ever imagined. But first, there are things that need to be removed. Old fears, limiting beliefs, doubts that have held you back for too long. And yes, this process is painful. It's uncomfortable. But just like the eagle, you are being made new, stronger, wiser, ready for what's next. So don't give up in the middle of your transformation. Don't mistake the breaking for the ending. Because what feels like loss right now is actually making room for something greater. Your story is not over. And when the time comes, you will rise not as the person you were, but as the person you were always meant to be. Right now in this moment, you have a choice. You can walk away and forget everything you just heard, treating it as another message that crossed your path. Or you can step into faith and take action. You can acknowledge that this wasn't just another coincidence, that you were led here for a reason, and that now is the time to respond. The question is, what will you do with what you've been given? At 2 a.m., while the rest of the world sleeps, there is an open space between you and God, a moment where distractions fade and the noise of the day disappears. It's in this quiet, sacred hour that He speaks the loudest. But will you be ready to listen? I want you to do something tonight. When the clock strikes 2 p.m., take a moment, just you and God. Find a quiet place, whether it's your room, your car, or even stepping outside under the night sky. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and silence everything else. No phone, no distractions, just presence. Because when you make space for God, He fills it. When you show up, He answers, but don't just listen. Speak. Let this be the moment where you pour out everything you've been carrying. The fears, the doubts, the burdens that have been weighing you down. You don't have to hold on to them anymore. I want you to do this. Take a piece of paper and write down your greatest challenges. Write down the things that have been keeping you up at night, the battles you've been fighting in silence, the prayers you haven't even spoken out loud because you weren't sure if they would ever be answered. Write it all down, and when you're done, lift that paper up and offer it to God. Say, Lord, I give this to you. I surrender. I trust that you are working, even when I can't see it. And then, when you're ready, tear that paper up. Because you are no longer carrying those burdens alone. They are no longer yours to bear. You are stepping into faith. Faith is not just something you believe. It's something you live. And tonight, you are taking the first step. Now, if you feel deep inside that this message was meant for you, if you know in your heart that God is speaking, I want you to say this out loud, with boldness, with conviction. I am ready to hear and obey. Say it again. I am ready to hear and obey. Because when you declare something, when you speak it with belief, you align yourself with it. You step into the energy of what God is already doing in your life. And if this message has touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because you never know who is on the verge of giving up, who is waiting for a sign, who needs to be reminded that they are not alone. Be the reason someone else finds hope tonight. This is your moment, your time to step forward in faith. Your invitation to listen, to surrender, and to trust. God is speaking. Will you answer? Everything you've been through, every challenge you faced, every moment of doubt, it wasn't for nothing. Every obstacle was a step, every setback was a setup, and every delay was divine timing working in your favor. You may not have seen it then, but now you're beginning to understand. Nothing was wasted, nothing was random. It was all leading you here. You are closer than you think. Closer to your breakthrough. Closer to the doors that God has already prepared to open. Closer to the purpose that has been calling you all along. The struggles, the waiting, the moments when you wanted to give up all of it, was preparing you for what's ahead. God does not make mistakes. If He allowed you to go through it, it's because there was something in you that needed to be strengthened. There was wisdom you needed to gain. There was faith you needed to build. And now you stand on the edge of something greater. Let me remind you of something powerful. What is meant for you has already been set aside for you. God is not trying to figure out your future. It's already written. The blessings, the opportunities, the breakthroughs, they are already prepared. But now, God wants to know, are you ready? Are you truly ready to step into what He has for you? Because blessings require responsibility. Purpose demands faith. And walking into what God has prepared means letting go of what no longer serves you. This is your moment of decision. Will you step forward in faith, or will you keep waiting, keep hesitating, keep wondering if you're worthy? Let me tell you right now, you are worthy. You have always been worthy. And now is the time to claim what is yours, if this word spoke to your heart. If you know deep down that this message was for you, don't keep it to yourself. There are others who need to hear this. There are other chosen ones who are still asleep, waiting for their wake-up call. Be the reason they find it. Share this message. Send it to someone who needs hope, who needs direction, who needs to be reminded that they are not alone. Because just as you were led here tonight, someone else is waiting for the same confirmation, the same truth, the same moment of realization. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. And your future is greater than your past. The only question left is, are you ready?